Welcome back, episode 6. It's been a while since I did long format. I've been grinding on TikTok. Go check it out. But big weekend in sports, Sunday today. We have Sunday after UFC 326. Just finished that last night. World Baseball Classic fully underway. We'll get into both of them. Freedom 250 was announced last night, and I think that's what we're going to start with because that's what we've been waiting for a while at this point. So, two title fights, one interim title fight. These are the two title fights that we expected for the most part. I feel like the general public, maybe it was because of Trump and Dana White, we expected more essentially. But as it got closer, this is kind of especially the title fights, this is kind of what I expected. We expected Topuria Gaethje after Gaethje beat Patty earlier this year for the first Paramount card. And, people are like, oh, Gaethje's going to get rocked. It's the American getting rocked on the first title, or the last title fight of the day. It'll be June 14th. I think it's a Sunday. Is that what it says? Sunday. But I like this card. I do. Like I've said before, I'm not the biggest diehard UFC fan, but I am a big fan, I would say. I can't say that I know much about Dawkins, Steve Garcia, and Amin Zahabi, if I'm saying it right. They're all fighting. I was kind of hoping Sean O'Malley would fight like a Sandhagen or an Umar Nurmagomedov, more well-known guys, but this is the fight they got. This is for the most part, I do like this card. People freaking out, and to an extent, me too. Asking what was the brouhaha like before the card was announced. You know, John Jones pulled out. Was it McGregor? Who was it? It could have been like the Kayla Harrison fight. Who knows? But I think these are two title fights that are going to be good. I know people hate on Cyril Gahn. I think this is his fourth chance at a championship, at a title fight. But he's a really good striker. People are going to complain that Pereira's not facing many of the great grapplers. But I mean, who's the best fight if you're not going to get John Jones or Tom Aspinall this time around? If Aspinall's not ready, who's the fight for Alex Pereira that's going to fight for the title? And people were like, "Oh, you're just going to give him a title shot?" It's Alex fucking Pereira. Come on, like, what are we talking about here? So I like these fights for the most part. Ruffy and Chandler, that's an interesting one. Diego Lopez back. He's becoming a fan favorite, I think. If not a UFC favorite, maybe he's not looked at by the fans as much as good. But I think this is a good card. We had 6 fights. I guess there were supposed to be 7 per se. But and the thing about this is I think that if Topuria and Alex win, first off, both of them being on the card makes this the best card of the year. Let's be real. These are probably 2 of the 3 best pound for pound fighters in the sport, if we're not counting Ilya or possibly Shimaev. So you have to have those 2 guys on the card. If you don't have one of those 2 guys, it might be a problem. But this is a good fight card. Whether Gaethje and Gane go down pretty easily, which there is a chance because the other 2 are so great. If that's the case, if Topuria and Pereira win, I think by the end of 2026, if not early 2027, we set up for 2 super fights in Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall, Ilya Topuria, Islam Makhachev. I think that's huge. And I think that's essentially part of the reason why they did the card the way they did. Because if Aspinall wasn't ready, he was probably going to be on this card, and that would be the headliner. I think Pereira, Aspinall might have jumped Topuria as the main, perhaps. And obviously, if Ilya wins this, and everybody in the UFC world, including Ilya and Islam, I think both want to fight each other. Whether that will be at welterweight or not, we'll see. That's the most likely scenario. So I think this is a great card for what the circumstances are. Do I wish there were more American fighters fighting? Yeah. But let's be real about the state of the UFC. I don't think there's enough elite UFC fighters to fight on this card. I mean, we could have had Sandhagen, I would have liked to see. We would have liked to see Strickland, but I think if he's matching up with Chimaev, they haven't announced that yet. I think he's having some problems in the States fighting, potentially. So That's going to be maybe International Fight Week or something like that, maybe later in the year. That's probably where McGregor's going to fight as well, potentially. But as for this card, I think they did a really good job. For the expectations being so high, they were only going to get they were only going to maximize this card so much, and I think they did. Now, as for UFC 326 last night, BMF championship on the line. Obviously, Oliveira dominated Max Holloway. Wasn't close. But the initial reaction after it is not how great Oliveira is or how Max got dominated. The conversation is, do we get rid of the BMF belt now because of the way the fight went? BMF, no strict rules on it, but I don't want to say it's a fake belt, but that's essentially what it is. It's the baddest motherfucker. It's the stigma is that it should be more like a stand and bang rather than ground and pound. And I get that to an extent. I do, because the casual fan doesn't want to see grappling for 25 minutes, and I get it. And I was a bit disappointed. Of course, I wanted more stand and bang too. Why would we not? These are two of the greatest fighters I've ever seen. Two of the greatest UFC competitors ever. So, are they going to get rid of the BMF belt? Potentially, yeah. We'll see if they want to match up Oliveira with someone for that. Because, I don't know what the plan is for Oliveira next. Where did I put it? I wrote it down on my phone. Sorry. I wrote down who I think the next options are for Charles and Max. Max is a little more difficult. Does he go back down to featherweight? There's a chance we could see that. Does he go fight Volk eventually? Does he fight one of the does he fight the loser of the I forget the Murphy fight? I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not the biggest. I don't know enough about Murphy, and I gotta look it up. I'm sorry, but are we gonna get Charles versus Connor? Are we gonna get Charles Ilya again after the White House card? I don't think that's the best option, even though he's gonna try to want to get that title back. He did take down Topuria in their fight before he got clean knocked out. Do we see Max Patty? That's a potential. That's a firework fight. Uh, Both really good on their feet. Do we see Armin Charles again? I don't know if that brings as much excitement. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know what the UFC has in store for Charles. He's a elite all time grappler, and he showed that last night. Max couldn't do anything. Even when they were on their feet, Charles beat him, and that was what, less than a minute, maybe a minute and a half total in the entire 25-minute fight. They were on their feet. Like, Max got dominated. It kind of sucked. Don't get me wrong. Not to say that I was rooting for Max. I just wanted a really good fight. I like both fighters. Tough to see, but it's gonna be interesting to see what's next for these two. I think if I had to make a prediction, I think that Oliveira is probably gonna. I should have looked this up. I don't know if he has to give up the BMF belt, but I think he's gonna go back for the lightweight championship. If I'm being honest, which is it's gonna be probably against Ilya. And for Max, I think Max Patty would be one of the best fights you could put up. Honestly, that would be exciting. Both have big personalities. Like I said, that's what the UFC loves. They love personalities, and that's what the fans love. It makes for good headlines, good storylines, all that stuff. So, all in all, 326 kind of, a little bit all over the place. Some good knockouts, some weird moments. Cody Garbrandt getting hit in the nuts multiple times, throwing up. Apparently, I saw a ruling that fight should have been called. Nonetheless, oh yeah, and then in the middle of the championship fight, Paramount turned off. So that kind of sucked for almost 2 minutes of the fight. I was freaking out. I was looking at my girlfriend like, what the fuck? Like, I pay for this subscription. What is going on? Feels like you're watching like an illegal website. Not that I've done that, but that's what it would have felt like, and that kind of sucked. But it's not like it was the greatest fight I've ever seen. But UFC 326 in the books, 327 coming up in a month. The Yuri and Oldberg for the lightweight championship. the vacant title as Alex just gave it up. So good stuff in the UFC. I think my prediction is once the White House card is over, you're gonna probably have to give a month or so. But I think by the fall and the winter, it sucks we had to wait that long. But I think by the fall winter, we're gonna have some elite matchups. That's my prediction. I think there's a chance that we could have Ilya Islam, Strickland Chimaev, a Volk title defense, a Peter Yan title defense, and possibly Alex and Tom. So I think the UFC's got some big stuff coming up potentially if the right guys win. So that's that. Um, yeah, let's move on to WBC. These are the current standings right now. Um, Puerto Rico 2-1 or 2-0. They're leading. They're at Pool A. Venezuela also 2-0, leading Pool D. And Japan and US both leading their pools respectively. US plays Mexico on Monday night. As for the US, they scored, what was it? 24 runs in 2 games. And I think they were underwhelming, if we're being honest. Just based on their pure talent alone. I saw a tweet last night, and it's a fair point that, I got the game on right now, Netherlands, Dominican Republic. As for the Dominicans, Team Japan, and a lot of these Caribbean countries, a lot of these guys, the Australians, they've played together a lot. A shocker by Australia was 2-0 until they lost by 1 run to Japan this morning. But the Team USA just came together a couple weeks ago. Like the Dominicans, the Japanese, they've all been teammates and known each other for years. Not to say that the Team USA doesn't know each other; they play each other every day during the regular season, but they don't have as much continuity as the other teams do, and that may come back to bite them later in the quarterfinals, semis. There's definitely a chance. That's why I was a little shocked when U.S. was that heavy of a favorite pre-tournament. Not because of the talent, but because of the togetherness that these other teams have. They just naturally they've played together much more. It's going to be tough for it's going to be very tough for the U.S. to get out of the quarters. I'll be honest. They could, like I said, they could walk through their pool right now. Their biggest rival potentially Mexico, who we play. I forget the dates, but we play Mexico and Italy next. Mexico on Monday night. Because we almost lost to Mexico last time, 2023. So, it sucks that we're not going to have, Dominicans got to win today. Because Venezuela's 2-0, shocking enough. I got to see when they play next. Because that's going to be a huge game. But, overall, I really like, the thing about the WBC that I really like, other than playoff atmosphere baseball in March, which it's my favorite thing. But my favorite, the really interesting part about the World Baseball Classic to me, is that a lot of these guys that are not, obviously you got teams like U.S. and Japan and Dominican Republic, a lot of, all-star teams essentially of Major League Baseball players, but some of these other teams don't have any Major League Baseball players on the team. And it's really cool to see, like, I forget the Contreras. I forget the 17-year-old was a 17-year-old pitcher on Team Brazil who came in against the Americans. Got I think like 4 outs and throwing 97 with movement. Like this is a showcase essentially for a lot of these guys. Like there's a chance that we could see some of these guys in Major League Baseball in the near future, which I think is really cool. Because you get that in the Olympics sometimes too, but not as much I would say. Like for example, this is a weird example, but Yabusele in the Summer Olympics when he dunked on LeBron, like a month or two later, he's on the Sixers, which is pretty cool. So I think there's a really good chance that some of these guys, especially that pitcher from Brazil, we could see them in the minors, if not the majors, in the next handful of years, which is really cool to see. Other than just watching these all-star teams, blow teams out the water, like Japan winning 13-0 or the U.S. winning 15-5 the other day. Like, it's really cool to see that this is like a showcase for the world. And, like I said in my last episode, with hockey, the U.S. hockey teams winning and basketball winning last year in the Olympics. Obviously, football is dominated by America. We got soccer coming up. Maybe the U.S. shocks some people. The international sports is at an all-time high, it feels like. Like, maybe I'm just too young, but that's how it feels right now. Like, Schwarber hitting that home run last night. I know it's against Great Britain, but man, that that lit up the stadium. That lit up the stadium. It was really cool to see. As for the U.S., real quick, I think I think they're gonna easily walk through their pool, but both starting pitchers gave up a leadoff home run. Very interesting. Manny Ramirez's son, one of them. Pretty interesting to see. I gotta stop saying interesting to see, but the bullpen a little bit shaky depending on who it is. They're gonna have to play like these Vlad Guerreros and these Fernando Tatis and these Shoheis. You're gonna get the all time hitters coming up next week. So they're gonna have to buckle down. Obviously, the U.S. has a great chance of winning, but it's gonna be this may be the toughest road they've went through, even per last year, or I mean even back in 2023. So World Baseball Classic fully underway. One of my favorite sporting events all time. Only comes every 3 years, or if it happens every 6 years, every 4 years, it changes every time due to world circumstances. But very cool. I'll be watching, especially next week when the games start heating up. Quarterfinals. We expect U.S., Japan, Dominicans to get out of there. Venezuela, gotta be careful. Venezuela up to. Let's take a look real quick before we do a little football, because I want to see when. Excuse me. Damn, we gotta wait till Wednesday. Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Dominicans at Venezuela. Looks like Sandy Alcantara has already been named the starting pitcher for the Dominicans. We don't know about Venezuela yet. That's going to be a huge game. That is going to be absolutely electric. So, like I said, fully underway. I love World Baseball Classic. Let's get into a little bit of football. Hey, Max Crosby. Really wanted him on the Eagles. He got traded to the Ravens. 2 first-round picks. It was getting a little bit of heat on TikTok. People were like, "Oh, they need a defense. They shouldn't have given up 2 first-round picks for a receiver." That's not what I was saying. I was not saying that the Ravens should have traded 2 first-round picks for a receiver. What I was saying, and my point was that, oh wow, they just hit a long home run, Caminero, 3-run shot. Wow, it's probably loud. I got it on mute though. Whew. Yeah, I fully expect Dominicans to get out of that round. But anyway, regardless, back to football real quick. Max Crosby's obviously going to be an immediate impact player. Immediate. But sorry, had a brain fart. But the their problem in the last few years, other than Lamar just kind of going off his original game plan, which part of that is because, yes, Zay Flowers is a good receiver. He's a 1,000-yard receiver, but he's not a main number one. He's just not. They need a number one, 1A, 1B receiver in order to compete with some of these really elite defenses. Max Crosby is going to make an immediate impact. It's a great move. I am not denying that it's not. But if the Ravens want to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl, beat Buffalo, beat maybe Kansas City, beat New England with their defense coming up, beat Denver, beat some of these teams, Houston, with these elite defenses, they need a guy that they can throw over the top and just have a reliable 50-50 ball getter. Like, that's just the truth. I'm not saying that defense doesn't matter. Of course, he's going to make an impact with the new coach, the new defensive mind, Jesse Minter. Of course, it's going to work. A little bit injury prone to this point. Not injury prone, but he gets hurt now. He's getting up there in age, but I love Max. He's a top 10 defensive player, if not top 5 defensive lineman. But I think the Ravens needed to reallocate their sources a little differently. I'm not saying they were going to get A.J. Brown. I'm not saying that. but that would have been nice to maybe get, because I keep seeing like Alex Pierce might be the best uh best free agent receiver, over the top guy. Maybe he wasn't being utilized in Indianapolis as well as he could have. But I'm like, are we gonna overpay for Alec Pierce? Is one of these teams gonna do that? I mean, nice player and all, but I would have liked to have seen the Ravens kind of reallocate their sources better. So NFL is going crazy in the offseason. Yeah, free agency starts on Monday. That's gonna be interesting to see who the guy who the you know is Aaron Rodgers gonna sign? Is he coming back to Pittsburgh? Yeah, it's kind of off the rip, but I think he will. I think he's coming back for another year because what other team is he going to? Let's be real. Um, what else should we do? Big sports weekend. We're coming up to more of the World Baseball Classic. I'm hella excited for it. I haven't even talked NBA here. Maybe because I was winning in fantasy and now I'm getting smacked. Fuck you, Connor. No. Watch Cooper Flag try to go against Tatum in his first game back. Tatum looks fine. Looks good. I mean, he tried to dunk and he got stuffed by the rim. So people were saying, oh, he lost athleticism. Maybe, but I think it's more so, getting his legs underneath of him. So, you know what? I think we're gonna end it here. We'll do another episode later this week once the pool for WBC finishes. We get a little more NBA coverage, a little more NFL free agency stuff. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully, I'm entertaining enough for you. And catch me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, X. Catch me everywhere. I'm trying to post everywhere. Appreciate the love. Thanks, guys. See you next time.